All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. That's our first coffee break of the summer. I'm numbering those sessions as episode 1, 2, 3, etc. The coffee mug is somehow required. That's mine. I have a Star Wars and M&M teammate coffee mug, so it's kind of fun one. And so the idea is here is just to have this open space for so you can ask questions, discuss a few samples, discuss a few blog articles that we have. There is no like formal presentation, but if you have anything that you want to ask or discuss in specifically, you can always open for that. And I'll just show some of the things that are happening with the team over the last few couple weeks, and yeah, that will be an interesting discussion. And yeah, well, I don't want to have a lot of slides, but let me close this here. And again, I'm back to you, right? If you have anything that you want to bring up, or some topics you would like to hear more. If not, I can show you a few things that I like over the last few weeks. So let me bring up a few names from outside: Chris, Mariam, Francesca, Viet Lee, right? How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, great. Where are you coming from, Viet?
I'm in the UK. I'm with BDP, one of the
Oh,
big architecture firms over here.
cool.
Yeah, I attended the session with Adam a few weeks back on design automation and Forge. It was great.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Adam is very good in what he's doing, right, Adam?
yeah, he's amazing.
So let's
Yes.
hope so.
Yeah, especially with his new hair, like it's giving him new strengths.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Yes.
I want to know if Adam's got an inventor tattoo on the back of his neck. Is he going to show us?
Next time.
Next time. Yeah. I think one of the fun things that interesting things that happened last week was the Atlantis Accelerator. That was 1 week with partners. I'm not sure if you all heard about that, the Accelerator program. Have you joined that?
Heard about it, but
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. It's a 1 week hackathon where people can, well, we're doing those online, but we used to do that on site, right? But it's like a 1 week hackathon that you can come in with your project, with your idea, and you have the full support from Autodesk to help you create that application, that proof of concept, or the prototype that you want to do. I think last week was the fourth one virtual, right? So it's kind of interesting to do it virtual because we can do it around the clock. So we see people starting, I don't know, midday their time and going to midnight, or just having a day job and then in the night working on a project. So it's quite interesting because we have people in all the geos, so we can help you in many different areas. If you want to attend, the next one, it's coming mid to late August. We are giving them funny names. So the last one was Atlantis. The next will be Rapa-Nui. I didn't know that, but Rapa-Nui is the eastern island in the Pacific. So the people that live in that island, they are called Rapa-Nui. So that's the indigenous people from that island. I think that's the name of them. It's quite interesting. So that's the next one is coming in August, and you can apply for it. To apply, you can go to, let me get you the link here. Come on. Oops, let me share this again. If I can play with my, here, force.autodesk.com /Autodesk Accelerator program. And I just apply for Rapa-Nui. The one after that is Asgard. It's happening in September. So it's also an interesting one. So yeah, that was last week. Very interesting. I think this week was what the main thing is the preparation for AU. The call for proposals will end Monday, June 22nd. And this year, the AU was going full virtual, and Monday is the deadline for all the English classes. And by July 9 is the deadline for non-English. So I think here's the list, the deadlines. We are planning a lot of interesting topics. The idea of being virtual allows us to do a lot of extra things that before was not possible. I think one of the advantages is to have different languages, right? Some other options. So we are doing Chinese, French, German, Japanese, Russian, and Spanish. So if you are from different locations, you can also submit in different languages. Anyone here going to apply a class, submit a class, other than Autodesk people? Are you? Anyone? Well, that would be interesting. And I think that's interesting. We at Autodesk, we are going to submit classes on the roadmap on Forge. That's always a very interesting topic. One of the main ones that I'm looking forward to see next to submitted is design automation with BIM 360. Design automation is going on for a year and a half now, the version 3. And there's a lot of new things we can do. And just now we are starting to see better or more complex integrations. And when it comes to BIM 360, it gets particularly interesting because we have this huge repository of files, and then we can run those automations with those files, right? And it's sometimes about extracting data or checking something on those drawings. So it's always interesting to see design automation running. And I think that's one of the samples I was thinking to show you today. This sample was written, I wrote this sample maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, and it's quite interesting that we can run design automation for a file in BIM 360 and extract additional information. So that's the sample if you haven't seen it. So you can get a file that is hosted on BIM 360, run it as soon as you run design automation as soon as you open it, extract the information you want, and then add that information to the properties that are available on the viewer of that 3D model, right? Of that model. And so there is a small animation here running. And that sample was designed for based on a request from one company that is extracting information about the materials on the models, so they can just look at all the layers or the compound structure of the models, and they use that to have a better quote or have a better estimation or how much embodied carbon they have on the project, on the design. So it's something like this, right? So you click on a model. As soon as you click on it, it's going to open the 3D model, and we see this pop up at the top here. It is going to run design automation. Design automation will be running and extracting the data. And as soon as the data is ready, it will pop up back saying, okay, the additional information is ready, and you can just open it, just see it. And after that is completely transparent. We don't have to do anything else. So it's quite powerful to run design automation for a big chunk of a big group of files like that. And I've seen another company preparing to do something similar. They have all those files on BIM 360, and they run that for all the files to check for to run a specific script to fix problems, which is very common on DWG drawings. You have extra. Let me see, the information is ready. So when we have, we want to purge files or remove extra line types or reg apps, you can just run that for all the files inside BIM 360. So it's quite interesting. So the idea of running design automation, right? So in this case, when I click on the wall, I can scroll down to the list, and I see this new group with compound layer with all the materials that I have on my model, on my wall. And I have the area of the wall, and this is just the width of the wall and how much of that material. So if I multiply this number x the area, I have the volume of the of concrete or the volume of wood, structure, insulated, etc., etc. Interesting when you do something, when you mix the two APIs.
So Augusto, I'm going to act like a little bit of a shill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a BIM 360 user. We use BIM 360 design, so work sharing.
Okay.
I mean, is the time going to come I can use design automation for a work shared model? Because we only publish the model out maybe once a week.
Yes. So that's coming actually, right? There is a blog post that this is coming soon, and I think was just posted here. Where is it? Work sharing models. That's a new one, Jim. Yeah, that's coming really soon, and we can open those files. That's quite an interesting improvement. So you can just specify a few options when we open them, and that will be available there.
So maybe I can run a check every day, though we only publish out once a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can wait until the published event is triggered, right? You don't have to specify a time. As soon as the model is published, you just run your check. You don't have to specify a specific time, right? There is an event for that. The event is right here, webhooks. So webhooks is one of my favorite APIs just because it sounds like magic, right? Something happens and you trigger something else. Model publish.
Ooh, Revit Cloud work sharing.
Yeah. So as soon as the model is published, you can just trigger that kind of function to extract materials, to extract additional information. And we have a lot of information on the blog. I was just looking at what we had. This one was written by Adam, actually. Adam is right here with us. I like this one because it's something that was on a desktop side, right, Adam? You can just extract some information that was available on the desktop application.
Yeah, well, on the Inventor side, many people might be familiar with iLogic. It's it's quite popular, and one of the key features it has is that you can also create these various forms. It makes it much more intuitive for users of the various Inventor documents to know which exact parameters they should be changing in order to drive the model, instead of going into the parameters, dialog, and then try to figure out there what they would need to change. And so I looked into how it would be possible to get the data, or which parameters these various dialogues are pointing out to the user. And then if you get this information out from the Inventor models, then you could create your own UI on your website, and then would let people modify those specific parameters. You could even get the various images if there are any in the iLogic form, and then show it on your website. So basically you could pretty much recreate those iLogic forms on your website.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And to bring the desktop forms or bring the desktop information you have to the cloud. And design automation is always about allowing that kind of interaction, right?
Well, while you're talking design automation, Civil 3D design automation, another one I'm confused. Is that a sort of a public beta or a hidden public beta, or what's the deal?
Yeah, so that one is coming, Jim. I was hoping to have more information on the next episode. It's almost there. You can start preparing your design, preparing your project to work with that. And as soon as the team is ready to allow access into that will be available. It's almost there. I think just on the next episode, I'm going to show you some samples on Civil 3D. That's one of my my personal things, right? I like Civil 3D just because I was a civil engineer from school, right? And have a personal attachment to that one. And I was working with Civil 3D for a long time. I like that one. Yeah. I think the one you like the most, Jim, is the showroom. That will be an interesting one. That the blog went out this week, and the site is also available. The showroom is a way for us to see all the interesting samples the team is doing. and it's really focused on what it does, right? And it's, it's a very easy list to find the samples and find the all cool features. So this is the blog post about it. And when we open it, it should show us these animations on each sample, and you can just browse through it. And let's say, okay, I like this one. It's showing a Fusion Digital catalog, and I can view this and see this how the sample would look like. I have the source code. I have the live version of that sample, and that's quite interesting to find what we are looking for, or find the samples I need to demonstrate, or samples that I need to do some specific things. Or I can just go here on this list, and let's say I'm very interested in the digital twin. So click here, and I can see all the samples related to digital twins.
Ooh, I didn't know the filter was there. That's cool.
Yeah. So the filter is really focused on the main workflows we have: retail, digital twin, and some of the APIs we are using. So data management, model derivative, and that's how you can find the samples, right? You can always search for it, but if you just know the main workflow, let's say I'm looking for catalogs. Let me unselect these and select, or maybe this one. So those are the augmented reality related samples. That will help us find what we're looking for here. Cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm talking for a long time now. It's just supposed to be a coffee break, not only me talking.
Sorry, could I have a quick question, please?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
It's slightly off topic, but it's to do with cloud credit consumption. So I've been doing a few model checking with design automation, but the credits that I have, they don't seem to be consumed. Is that because I'm doing only small checks? And at which point will that be deducted?
So it may take some time before they appear on your dashboard. So it takes like maybe a day or two, and they will show up on your dashboard as soon as you consume one full credit. So if you're doing very small checks, it will 0.1 credit. It may take some time to complete one credit, and then they will show up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, maybe that's why, because I've been checking only the sample project that comes with Revit. That's very small.
Yes, that's usually like a few seconds, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
I mean, do you have from your experience, how long would a check be before we consume one full credit?
So that's tricky, right? It really depends on the model, and how long it takes to open that model and run the full thing, right? And I have this thing here that is quite interesting for you to consider. Oops. Let me just filter better. Yeah, this is the one, right? So what you should really be looking at is the time downloaded started. So let me go back one step, right? As soon as you finish running the work item, there is this result of the work item, the status of that work item, right? So you should be looking at the download started time and uploaded ended time. And the difference from this to this is the amount of time you're going to pay in credits.
Oh yeah, that's clear.
So yeah, so if you this blog post is interesting, and I wrote that with Adam and Varun. The idea is to investigate what are the other costs you have involved, right? So let's say you have a very large file that is coming from a very far location. So it takes some time to get that file from that location to design automation, right? So the time to download the input and to upload the results it's also accounted here. So that's why you should be looking for the difference between the uploaded and downloaded start.
If the file is already on BIM 360, will the download time not matter anymore?
No, even if the file is hosted on Autodesk, it will take some time to transfer from one to the other, right? So we did some, yeah, we
But
did
there's
some
no
testing.
question if it's in BIM 360, it's going to
Yes.
download way faster
Yes.
than if it's coming from, you know, maybe an Azure region on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
So we did some testing. Varun did some testing, and when you run from BIM 360 to Design Automation, a very large file, and I think we tested with 1 gig file, was taking around 30 seconds to move. And when we moved that file to Azure in Singapore, was taking almost 2 minutes.
Wow.
Roughly, right? And was varying a lot from Singapore just because of all the latency to go from one to the other. So the closer the better, and if it's hosted on BIM 360, even better, right?
I see. Yeah. And maybe just another question, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's about the handling of error messages you usually get in the UI. So I know we have to handle all of them, but what if I miss one? Will then the job be terminated, or will it hang on in there?
Well, if you don't handle the mess, the failure on, you're talking BIM, you're talking Revit, right?
Yeah, in design automation.
For Revit.
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't handle that, Revit will assume the default option on that failure, right? So the default option may be continue, the default option may be cancel. So it depends on the failure, right? So ideally you should have this failure processor running to capture all the problems to decide if you continue, proceed with commit, or proceed with rollback.
Oh, I see. So if
So
I don't make a choice, then it would choose for me anyway.
It has to choose something, right? And
Yeah.
we'll choose the default selection for that specific type of problem, which can vary a bit. Yeah.
Is that the same with the default resolution that you have in the API?
Yes.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the failure API in Revit.
I see. Yeah, I usually just go for that default one anyway. So that's great.
Oh, yeah, good. Even better then. You don't have to handle that. But it's good to have this kind of treatment, right? So just to avoid having something going on the wrong direction.
Yeah. At least I know that it won't hang on in there forever and then burn all of my credits.
No. There is a timeout, right? So there is always a timeout. And if you look at the somewhere in here, there is a timeout. There is a maximum time, and there is a timeout specification.
Yeah.
Maximum duration here. So for Revit will be this amount of seconds. That's the maximum one. What you should be doing is to have a heartbeat code on your plugin to just, if your process is running for a long time without giving a response to the system, just to have a heartbeat. The heartbeat is just to clear the queue, the processing queue, and so the system can interrogate Revit and see that Revit's still running.
So for Revit, that timeout's 3 hours.
Yeah, but that's the big timeout, right? The complete for the whole process to run. This is not the heartbeat timeout. Oh, here's the heartbeat. Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if your application goes not unresponsive for a long time, then the system will assume that it's failing.
Is this heartbeat thing something that is there already, or do I have to reference it in my solution?
So the heartbeat is just on your application. This sample is doing this, right? So the heartbeat is just your plugin telling the system that the plugin is still running.
Yeah.
And to do that, what you usually do is, let me see if I can not get into trouble here. You just have to clear up the processing queue, which should be heartbeat. I remember playing with that for a while. I think that's part of the code. Yeah, I think I have to find that code for you again.
Yeah, so the Inventor team actually moved it into utility.
Yes,
so
I think so, right?
The source code is not, I'm not sure it's there anymore.
Yeah, I think that's why. There is a
But
utility.
basically, you just have to go on a different thread, and you, as long as you write something to the console, the design automation will see that something is still going on.
Yeah. Yeah, right into the console is a good one, Radam. Yeah, good idea. So good suggestion. To do that on Revit, you just say system debug write line, and just to get something fleshed out. So the system knows that the application is still running.
I see. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
That's really useful.
Yeah, thanks for your questions.
Didn't you guys have a little demo web page you could use for checking your timing?
Are you talking about the DA manager? Can I show it then?
Yeah, sure. Here, let me give you the screen then.
Okay.
Oops.
Because then I can. There you go. So if I go here. Yeah, so for example, I have this Forge configurator app, and if with the same keys, I log into this da-manager.autodesk.io, then you can log in there.
Public key, private key.
Right, of your Forge application. And then you can either kick off a work item directly from here. So you go on the given activity that you want to do, and then you select the specific version, and then you click the play button and then provide all the parameters for it. Or for example, in this case, I already have the keys and I already have an application which is using those keys and kicking off work items. This is the Forge configurator app. So if I kick off, let's change something. So let's make it bigger. So I can see it kicked off work items. One of them is this one. So I can just copy it and go back to this application, to the DA manager. I can paste it in here. And when I click on it to get some information, then I can also get information about, you know, the queuing, how long it was queuing, the download, how much that took, then the actual running of the process, then the upload and the stopping. And then I can also get the overall. So it was 5.34 seconds and 0.01 cloud credits consumed. So if I keep running, I could run it like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1,000 times, I think, and then I would consume one cloud credit or something.
Right, 0.01 cloud credits. So basically
100.
Sorry, just 100 times. Yeah, 100
yeah.
times. So you were asking about, you know, why the cloud credits are not showing up. So you would have to run it at least 100 times in order for it to actually show up in your what is it exactly? The payment information, or
yeah, the analytics dashboard.
Right.
Well, it's more. You have to run it 100 times and then wait a day.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know how much is one credit?
It depends on the country, right?
For the UK, for example. Because I know my firm will be using lots of them. Once we have the system running, we'll be checking lots of models in one single day. So I just want to know, just in case they ask.
Is it a pound? Is it a pound in the UK?
Is one cloud credit about £1?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's about that. In the US, it's about $1. In mainland Europe, it's about €1.
Right.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right.
And if you buy a bunch of them, there's discounting, 10% discounts, 20% discounts.
Is there one discount for enterprise customer as well, EPA?
Yeah, if you're under an EBA, you get the standard discount that your company is already getting. So your company may already be getting a 15 or 20% discount, and that would apply.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, that's great to know.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's it.
I've got a question about web hosting, and I noticed that, and I've seen the Roku app and a couple others, I think, at the Forge accelerators. I've only been developing just over 2 years, starting to toe into Forge. but are there many hosts, or is there a list of hosts that you recommend? I was kind of poking around the Forge website, but didn't see anything. What should I look for? Or
that's almost a personal opinion at some point, right? So we use AWS. That's our choice. Autodesk. We use AWS to host our services. Many of our big customers are using Azure. So AWS and Azure are the two big players, and you'll be good with either of them, right?
Mhm.
The benefit of using AWS is just that they're using the same as they are using the same as we're using the same as us. That will be a faster connection between your application and us. But
Sure.
that's really not changing that much, right? Unless you have something that is transferring, hundreds of gigs of data, right? But for an
Right.
application, that should not affect. We use Heroku on many of our samples just because it's so easy to deploy, right? It's usually one button and you can run it. So it's very, very easy to deploy and a sample. But when you go full scale on Heroku, it may get tricky. So you wanna consider the platform you have, the host you wanna deploy before designing a very large application. For a quick application, Heroku should work. There is no problem there.
Sure.
Once you go to a full scale, you wanna consider, okay, I'm using AWS with let's say Lambda and Dynamo, right? Or I'm using Azure with functions and SQL Server.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's in a way that you design your application to be hosted on that host.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you're working with a large customer, they already have an account with Microsoft Azure, or they've got something with AWS, and you're already getting some kind of discounting going on there.
Sure.
So yeah, very often it's the kind of the IT organization that's decided, here's who we want to use. We got pricing discounts. We vetted their security, reliability. We'd like you to use this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, in our place, we have Azure, and we just deploy the Forge apps right to Azure app service. That was very easy as well. Straight from Visual Studio.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe, I guess maybe there's one similar service for AWS. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, from Visual Studio can deploy to Azure or AWS very easy. It's just that Heroku is one scale easier than those the other ones, and it's very good for samples. But they both work great. Jim, sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying Microsoft has done a nice job connecting Visual Studio with Azure. So for people who come from the desktop side and kind of eat and breathe Visual Studio, they've made it quite easy.
Yeah, AWS did as well. They have a tool set for Visual Studio that is just as easy as Azure. So you don't see it connecting. It's transparent after that.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is it's up to you. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your preferences.
Yeah. Or your customer's preferences.
Though I do wonder, Augusto, would it help if I'm using Azure to be using one of the Azure regions that's close to an Autodesk AWS region? Does physical distance matter?
So we did try that, Jim, with very large files moving from one to the other. If they're close, the location is close, it doesn't really matter. If the location is far away, it matters even if it's still AWS. From AWS Singapore to AWS US is the same as Azure Singapore to us AWS US. So the geolocation matters more than the host. Assuming that you are talking one of the big players, right? So if you're talking someone that is a small host on your town, then that's complicated. But for a big player, it doesn't really matter.
So it sounds like the big boys have kind of got the plumbing out of the way, and it gets down to just physics. What's the speed of light and how far are you going?
Yes. And the latency to go on under the sea cables, right, from crossing the Atlantic. What matters is if you have an application and you want to have that application closer to your customer, so the application is deployed faster. So something like AWS Edge, which will deploy the application very close to the customer. So that matters more than the other piece, because then you want to have slow latency between your application and your customer, because that's a very intense interaction between them. And you don't want to host your application in the US and your customer accessing that application from Asia, because the latency will be from each connection will be like half a second to do it, which is a lot. Cool. All right, I think that was like 8 minutes more than the 30. Good questions, and by the way, thank you. Any other questions?
I see a few people
I have a question. Yeah, I'm sorry that I was late. I saw Jim post yesterday on Twitter, and I didn't notice that it was today. So I was just checking it out, and I discovered that it was happening now. So I would like to know where the recordings are going to be available, so that I can check the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to post a recording as soon as we finish here, and this will be like a personal thing, right? So we are going to post that on YouTube and share the link on Twitter, which gives me to, let me just, as you are here, right? So follow on Twitter, we're going to post the link there. We're going to have another session of another coffee break session on July 1st. Well, for this summer, we're trying to do it every other week. So today and skip next week and the week after. So July 1st, same time. And the recording will be available right there. And you can join the next one. By the way, if you have other questions, right? Don't be shy, as Jim. Don't be, what do you say, Jim? Don't be bashful, right?
Yeah.
So we have the Calendly option now. We are calling it Doctor is in. So you can just come here and select one of us to ask questions. Usually the best way is to look at the kind of expertise you're looking for. So let's say if you click on my name, you see that my areas of expertise are those APIs. So let's say you want to have some time with me, just select my name, select one of those times. Let's say today, 3 p.m., click here and add your name, and you can join that session today at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Or let's say you're looking for Adam, which should be right here. So those are the Adam's expertise areas. Today he's booked, and on the 23rd, 2 a.m. Pacific, which something, what it is this in Europe time zone, I forgot now. And then just book the time here with Adam. It's very, 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 very fast to get some time with any of us. So yeah, that's another way to get your questions.
I heard about that as well yesterday with Gene post, and I also saw the AU that now it's digital, and I'm really excited with those news. I'm really excited.
Yeah, cool. We are as well.
Yeah, note with the AU classes, we're supporting 6 different languages. So, pick the language you want.
Huge public this year.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see. So the next session will be July 1st, same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 4 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Central Europe. And same link, you can just reuse that. And yeah, talk to you guys in 2 weeks again. All right.
Excellent. Thanks for the coffee break.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I almost forgot to keep drinking mine. All right, guys. Good day.
Yeah, have a good day.
Yeah,
see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.